If you watch any of my videos, you know that when I do them, I try to get in as close to the subject as I possibly can. That's to make it so that you see what's going on. You don't see a lot of the background, everything. I try to put everything right in the middle and up close. And to do that, I use this tripod that I got at Goodwill, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. I didn't buy it at that time to make videos, I bought it for another purpose. But I've been using it for that ever since. The tripod works well. One of the things that I really don't like doing with it is collapsing the legs to make it shorter to get down lower. I often will set the camera on a bucket or something so that I can do that easily. Another thing about this tripod is that sometimes I want to go a little bit higher, and this is the maximum height that this one will go, even with the legs fully extended. So I got to thinking that maybe I would make a new tripod complete from the ground up, and then I got to thinking that maybe that's not the best approach. So I gave it a little bit of thought, and here's what I came up with. It is actually just an extension that clamps right onto the top of the tripod, and it allows the camera to mount on this part out here, and this articulates like this. With it mounted on top of the tripod, I can angle it down and angle it up to give me an extra height for shooting at a higher angle, which I really like to do sometimes. To get started on the project, I'm using some pieces of birch that I got from an old table. They're 2.5 inches wide, and I'm cutting this first piece to 12 inches long. I need 2 more parts from that same piece. The first is 4 inches long. The second is 3 inches long. Next, I need to mark the hole locations in the clamp. Then drill a 7/8 inch counterbore for a T-nut and a 5/16 inch through hole. I need countersinks and through holes for the screws that hold the clamp on. I can then line the clamp up with the arm and drill the 5/16 inch hole straight through. I need to mark a hole location in the end of the arm that mounts on the tripod, and drill another 7/8 inch counterbore and 5/16 inch through hole. The location for the 3/4 inch hole for the dowel is marked on the clamp, then transferred to the arm. The 2 parts are clamped tightly together and drilled through with a 3/4 inch forcer bit. I need to reduce the thickness of the clamp part slightly by cutting it down on the table saw. This allows it to clamp tightly onto the 3/4 inch dowel. To make the 2 knobs I need, I'm drawing a circle on 1/2 inch plywood using my compact compass. I can then drill the 1/4 inch center hole and cut the parts out on the bandsaw. Then fine tune the shape on the disc sander. Now I can drive in a 1/4 inch carriage bolt, slip on a 1/4 inch fender washer, and thread on a nut. I use a 3/4 inch dowel to drive the T-nut into the clamp. The carriage bolt I used in the knob is a little bit long, so I'm using a hacksaw to cut it off. I can now assemble the clamp to the arm with the knob and drive the 2 screws in that hold the clamp in place. These are left loose. Then I can pound the T-nut into the end of the arm. These screws keep the T-nut from coming out. Next, I can get started on the hinged camera mount, and that's 8.5 inches long. Here I'm marking the center on each part 3/4 inch in from the end for the 3/4 inch hole. I can then drill the hole through on both parts and round the ends on the disc sander. To make these parts a little bit lighter, I'm going to cut them thinner on the bandsaw. I need to drill a 5/8 inch counterbore in the place where the camera mounts to clear the lock nut. then a 5/16 inch through hole for the 1/4 inch bolt. Now I can mark how long the bolt needs to be and cut it off with the hacksaw. I can use a file to clean up the end. Now I can assemble the camera mount block. The nut gets tightened down so that the knob is still loose in the block. Now it's time for final assembly, where I get to glue the parts together. And the whole thing gets clamped up and set aside to dry. On my website I have a build article covering this, plus a basic plan showing how I made this one. It has the arm here at 12 inches. Obviously, if you want to make the arm longer, 16, 18, 20, you can. One thing I would caution is to make sure that you have support for it, that you don't tip the thing over with the weight of this. Well, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. It's not a real workshop project, but with more and more people making videos of the things that they're doing in the workshop, I hope that this comes in handy for a few people. I know that I'm going to use it. I've already used it quite a bit since making it. As usual, thanks for watching, and see you next time.